Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the next chapter of the build blog for this 32nd scale German Type VII U-boat RC model. This chapter of the build is going to be focused specifically on trying to get these torpedoes working. And if you've been following this blog, you'll see that I played with some gas torpedoes earlier on, and they kind of sort of worked. I'm not extremely satisfied with the reliability of those weapons, and so I went for something different, and I had a couple of different options, and actually I managed to source these really great electronic timer modules. They'll basically allow the weapon to operate for about 5 seconds or so before it shuts down, and I've got all of the components here, including the electric motors and the battery systems. So that's going to be my fallback position. What I actually kind of came up with for a late night musing about these weapons was to go really old school, and this was prompted by an article that I'd seen about a guy that had built a rubber band powered torpedo toy for one of his kids with a 3D printer. And so what I've decided to do is to give this a shot. So I've got the parts and components ready to start building this, and if we take a look, you can see I got the body of the torpedo and the tail cone all to scale. These are going to be my main drive shaft for the propeller. I've 3D printed and designed some bulkheads, and these are going to house these little thrust bearings that I have, and the idea for this is that I'm going to have the thrust bearing embedded in this back section, obviously the propeller on the back, a framework that goes up with an elastic band mounted in the middle, and to power up the weapon, basically you just probably use a drill. I'll figure out that procedure here in a bit, to wind the propeller up to store up all of that energy, insert it into the tubes, and then to fire, I'm thinking of a rubber band powered breech that'll fire the weapon forward and out. The benefits are obviously simplicity. You might not get that really cool puff of air that the gas powered torpedoes have, but I think it's going to work out well. I got my fingers crossed. If I can get this engineered, it'll be a super reliable weapon, and we'll see how this goes. We'll document it, and you guys can follow along and see if this is going to work. If not, fallback is already electricity. All right, so let's take a look and see what the last half an hour's worth of work actually netted me. This is going to be the drive system itself as it sits right now. This is the one end of the thrust bearing that's adhered to this brass shaft. This is the other side of the thrust bearing. I'm not sure if you can see that in there, but that basically just goes tight. Nice, smooth operation, no binding, which is important. And I've got this wheel collar that's going to slide up and just pin it loosely and keep everything all tight together. I have a brass bushing in the back there made from some brass tubing, and the idea behind this, I'm going to try and line this up without actually looking at it. There we go. So this is the rear assembly of the torpedo. Got the prop shaft sticking out the back there, and my idea is I'm just going to use a little bit of silicone and adhere the prop to the prop shaft. It'll go on something like that. So I'm pretty excited about how it's turning out so far. Now my next task is going to be to create a frame that comes out along the body of the torpedo, back again, and then the elastic bands will go in the center section there. So we'll see how that turns out. All right, let's take a look and see what I managed to get put together. This is the finished assembly for a rubber band powered torpedo. You can see you've got a 1/16 of an inch brass rod framework that I've got a couple of elastic bands wound around. I can wind up my propeller here, and once you get the adequate tension on the elastic band, it flips the prop, and actually it works fairly well. The issue is it works fairly well for about half a second. So just dumping it in my pool really quickly, not putting a massive amount of tension on the elastic band. I got about 18 inches of distance, which is a little bit short range for the weapon. Not super awesome. So as a proof of concept, probably not the best way to go. Fallback plan, intricate, complicated, but potentially very cool electric torpedoes. So that is the next step. We're going to get all of this stuff kind of wired up and see if we can make it work. Eureka! I think we got, the complicated portion of this figured out. I'm going to show it to you here right now. So take a look at this electric torpedo. So this is the guts, and it's untidy right now. I just finished soldering things up. But in general, what we're talking about, we'll start from the back. We've got a clockwise spinning propeller mounted to a brass shaft on the motors, and they pass through this bulkhead here that I 3D printed. I put a bushing in on the one side that the shaft passes through, and that is going to be a quasi sort of almost waterproof bushing so that the water won't get into the main electronics compartment. And really, I think this is going to be designed for shallow operation. I mean, basically surfaced or just at periscope depth. So certainly the torpedoes will be less than, probably 8 inches of depth. And there's not going to be a lot of water pressure at that depth. So that was the idea. And really that had to happen that way because the motors are not torquey at all. And traditional seals will bind up and really affect the, the RPMs. And the current draw, so went away with that. On the back end there, I've soldered them up just kind of like a standard motor for this hobby. If you take a closer look, I've got a diode that runs across the terminals, and then capacitors that go across the terminals and then to the body, and that stops electric noise from interfering with the timer module. And this is what the timer modules look like. These are really slick units. They're actually waterproof all on their own. You got inputs for power and then an output for the motor, and then this is the switch circuit with these white and black leads. And you can see what I'm using for the switch is a normally open reed switch, magnetic reed switch. Power is gleaned from these 3.7 volt lipos. Beautiful size, fit nicely inside these torpedo tubes, and everything is a nice tidy package. So what'll happen with this launcher assembly here, once I get things cleaned up, the launchers will use this magnet to activate the torpedo. So it'll be back or up, and then to launch it simply closes the contact, the timer starts, and this runs for 5 or 6 seconds and can be recovered. So I think we're going to be looking at some wet testing here today. Hopefully we'll have a lot of reserve buoyancy. I can add some weight low to try and keep that torpedo from spinning in the water. I may need to fabricate a different propeller, but everything is looking pretty positive right now. So from this point, we are going to move on to some wet testing. Well, I am very happy to say that, at least in my estimation, these weapons were a success. I got some video to show you here in a minute, but they run virtually straight and true, right on the surface at a nice speed. They go for about 6 seconds, actually exactly 6 seconds according to the electronic timer. And then they stop, ready for retrieval, and the batteries seem to be good for multiple launches. So this is going to be really, really cool. I'll show you real quick what these look like on the inside, sort of the final design. I've got 3 that I've finished, 1 more to go. So 3 in the tubes, 1 as a spare is the idea. And I think for the sake of simplicity and that KISS idea, KISS principles, a little bit of electrical tape keeps the front and back in line, although it is a friction fit. So if we pull this off, I put a little bit of grease on there, you can see the inner workings of the Torpedo. Looks complicated, but really it's not too bad. Got my lithium polymer battery, bulkhead that I 3D printed to keep everything nice and neat and also hold the magnetic reed switch, standard battery connector, timer module, and then the motor is embedded in the back in the bulkhead. The propellers are friction fit, so you can pop them off with a little bit of gentle coaxing. And then the rear section comes off as well. This is full of foam, and I don't know if you can see that, pink foam with a hole down the center for flotation. So the rear section probably won't get water in it, or not a lot of water in it, but for all intents and purposes it is a free flooding area, but the foam really keeps that empty. I've got a seal in here that I made from heat shrink. So what I did is I put a little bit of grease in there, slid the heat shrink over, heated it up. It bit down on the shaft, but it's still perfectly smooth operation. Bear in mind, this is not going to need to take a lot of water pressure at all. It's going to be operating at like less than 6 inches of depth. So there you go. These are the functional, operational, successful torpedoes for the German Type VII submarine project that I've been working on and that you guys have been following. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have questions, comments, by all means, email me at any time at bob@rc-sub.com, and visit my website, rc-sub.com, for this and many other projects. For now, thank you very much, and we'll catch you next time. Nice. Ah, it's in the skimmer again.
That's so cool.
Push.
Direct hit. Nailed it. Nailed it. Skimmer.